You're watching the New Stack Makers, a podcast for people who develop, deploy, and manage at-scale software. For more information and articles about at-scale technologies, please visit thenewstack.io. Now enjoy the show. Hey everyone, welcome to the New Stack Makers. Today we're talking about a pretty interesting project, and it relates to open source. It relates to how databases are becoming so much more advanced. I'm here with my guest, Vinny Jaiswal, and Vinny is a data and AI influencer and open source developer advocate at ByteDance. They're the parent company of TikTok. Now, Vinny previously was at Databricks and has been a contributor to some of the most notable open source projects, including Apache Spark, Delta Lake, MLflow, and PyTorch, and now also serves in the advisory role at notable open source and diversity organizations, including Linux Foundation, AnitaB.org, and others. So, Vinny, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Why do you like open source so much? What is it about it? You've really been involved in different projects over the years. I'm curious on like your experience at somewhere like Apache Spark and how that is compared to Delta Lake and where you are today.
Yeah, certainly. My journey in open source began during even when I was at college. I was using open source data to work on my projects for my master's program. So anyway, that was the user experience, right? And then I started working in the corporate. My journey began in open source at my time at CitiBank. This was in 2013, where I was involved in digital transformation initiatives. As I worked with cloud technologies and data science tools, I found that open source was a very powerful enabler for innovation, and it was also helping us accelerate the transformations. So it allowed me to collaborate with a global community, address bugs and vulnerabilities, and it would be solved very quickly because I would throw out question there. I would throw out like, oh, this is exact error I'm getting, and we then would customize solution to fit our own needs. And this whole experience, building the tools and building the platform and working with open source technologies out there, ignited my passion for open source, and it continues to drive my work today. Also, I think you mentioned about my involvement into some of the latest tools. So one of the most prominent trends that I can mostly relate and talk about today is intersection of open source and AI has become a focal point of innovation, right? And open source actually provides an accessible avenue for technologists to access all the latest advancements, contribute their own ideas, and collectively build solutions. So, for example, the rise of AI technologies, machine learning technologies like PyTorch, Hugging Face, OpenAI has democratized AI development. Now everybody is talking about it. Everybody can use it. It allows developers to experiment with all these cutting edge algorithms, and they can put a wrapper package around it and build their own solutions. Moreover, the integration of AI into existing open source projects has helped automate the log systems, chats for customer service, and there are a lot of popular code repositories showcases that yeah, open source has the greatest potential to bridge the gap between technology and the solution makers. Cloud computing is another major trend, and I think open source is constantly evolving in terms of like how we are seeing this technology landscape growing. So I'm pretty sure we are going to see more and more innovative and exciting developments in the near future.
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. Wow, 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 Vinny. I have so many questions for you.
Yeah.
Open source and AI, the democratization, those are terms we hear a lot.
Yeah.
But you worked on the ground floor at some, at Pi, as part of the PyTorch community.
Hmm.
Like, you must have started to see some of your your viewpoints mature at a place like that. I'd love to hear kind of what your experiences were there and how it gives you this perspective that you just shared with us.
Yeah, definitely. So I think I will, to answer your question, I will go back to my time at Databricks. So when I was at
Okay.
Databricks, when I joined, actually, I was at CitiBank and I was building this data science platform, and Apache Spark was one of the hottest technologies back then, when we were building like deep learning models, and we wanted to accelerate the innovation, and even not just accelerate, we actually wanted to solve the challenges. So that's how I got introduced to the founders behind Apache Spark. And then after I successfully worked on 170 plus projects at City, I wanted to actually help other industries. And because I'm always a passionate advocate for implementing data and AI technologies, so I wanted to help more organizations. So when I joined Databricks, we were very small. It was pre-unicorn phase. We still had to convince a lot of customers to actually use this technology. But I, as a user, was already impressed. I already saw its benefits. So I wanted to bring more solutions to whatever problems we were facing, so that more companies can use this technology and accelerate the adoption and accelerate the solutioning for that. So going back to your question, you said PyTorch and other use cases around
Yeah.
around this technology. I think I got involved with PyTorch few years ago when some of the customers were trying EV technologies. They wanted to build more of like geospatial use cases, and I think I also saw like a parallel trend in geospatial like geotagging, making more of like neural network models and things like that. So a lot of people wanted to like kind of do this generational analysis, as well as like finding route optimizations, finding solutions to do when I say like in driver track optimization, as well as driver safety within the vehicles, which can prevent harsh driving behaviors for drivers. So I think that's where I was engaged more into PyTorch community by working on that use case. But I could see like a lot of computer vision use cases using PyTorch behind the scenes, and I wanted to like, you know, advocate for that technology. So that's why I helped a lot of like companies who were doing computer vision, and they were
Right.
realizing the advantages from PyTorch. Yeah.
Have pre-trained models and the foundational models changed open source, do you think?
Yeah, I think how it changed is there was TensorFlow before. Oh, let me go back to XGBoost. XGBoost
Yeah.
was a model I was using when I was at Citibank, which was like many years ago. It was in like 2014,
How do you
2015.
spell that?
XG Boost, gradient
Okay,
boost. Yeah,
XGBoost.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
So that was a very popular package back then, and a lot of my data scientists liked it. But as a when as a platform builder, I I saw that there was like this disconnect between XGBoost and how other libraries would work, because there are so many dependencies behind XGBoost that would not work well with other technologies that we had, other packages we had. So I had to constantly build wrappers around it. I had to constantly work on that testing and continuous dev UAT production, like phasing out. So it was just like that kind of gap between whenever there was open source models being released, open source packages being released, and as an adopter of open source technology, you have to constantly think about how you are going to operationalize it, right? So to your question, like how these are changing, it changes based on customers needs, it changes based on companies needs. Like anytime there is a pain point, you put it out in the open source community and they will solve it for you. There was a trend of like we were using a lot of like as data volume grew, it also presented a challenge of how you tackle the problems uh, or models for your data, right? So with the growing volume of data, you started facing the solution of data reliability, so small files problem. So that's why when we talk about Delta Lake technology, for example, it came into picture after data lakes were born, because data lakes allowed for data warehousing plus AI.
Mm.
Data warehousing was a thing back then, but then why data lakes came in picture? Because people wanted to make sense out of all their data, not just a subset of it. Data warehousing only worked on structured data, right? So now you needed a solution on how you can develop machine learning models, how you can build AI applications, because for AI applications the data is not always structured. You have to work with unstructured data and all those things. That's why data lakes came in picture. And when data lakes were adopted, people started realizing that they are not able to find consistency, they are not able to find reliability, because data lakes don't have manageability aspect that data warehousing does. Data warehouses were excellent at that, right? So we started figuring out that this was a pain point for a lot of like companies who were building big data solutions, right? So we found that, and Delta Lake was a project which was born out of it. So when I
Okay.
said I was involved in incubation, we were actually solving the pain points of small file problems, reliability, because imagine like when one pipeline fails in the middle of it, now you have that inconsistent data. Either
Right.
the whole data is corrupted now, or you have like, um, you have like your existing data also got messed up, right? So now how do you fix this problem? So uh, with Delta Lake, we actually introduced asset transactions manageability. So now you have your data lakes where you can put all types of data, structured, unstructured data that is needed for sophisticated applications. And then you have this layer of Delta Lake, which provides asset transactions. And a lot of technologies, or like, software developers, software companies adopted this trend of new system. They call it new system. And they started building like, solutions which can tackle consistency, reliability, and integrity. And with that, new models came in picture, and we were able to do more AI and machine learning on top of this data lakes.
So with so what I often hear, from other open source advocates and open source users is how open source projects like almost serve as the place where new open source projects emerge, right?
Uh-huh.
Because as you begin to explore, you know, the boundaries of
Mhm.
data in this instance, you start to see new needs and see new demands for it. And now you're at ByteDance
Mhm.
and you run the open source office there, correct?
Yes.
Right. And you are involved in open source projects that ByteDance is participating in. And I know that you've worked on a lot of open source projects. And
Mhm.
so now you're working on this new project called ByConity.
Mhm.
And I'd love to hear more about ByConity and how it fits with ClickHouse, for
Mhm.
instance, and what is it that, where does it come from? Like, we were talking to where, we're talking about an evolution. What's the evolution of ByConity?
Yeah, definitely. So let me first go into ByteDance open source, Alex, because that is a strong initiative that ByteDance is a company. ByteDance is a parent company of TikTok. For those who don't know, so ByteDance actually places a strong emphasis on the value of active participation in open source community. So ByteDance OSPO, yeah, OSPO is a term which a lot of companies now know. It's called Open Source Program Office. So we built this ByteDance Open Source Program Office, which serves as a hub for open source strategies, support, and collaboration. Because we have this awesome technologies that are run at ByteDance, and we want to actually give it back to the community because it addresses so many pain points that we already saw at ByteDance. So we not only open source our own technology, but also contribute to the existing projects that align with our needs. So, for example, you already covered ByConity. So that is one of the project which is built on ClickHouse. So that is an example that, ClickHouse was an open source project and we actually adopted it, and ByConity emerged as our need to scale and optimize storage. This solution driven approach resulted in an open source offering that actually benefits the broader community. And let me talk a little bit more about this evolution. For example, when we wanted to solve our business problem, when our business actually grew and data volume was spiking a lot, right? So we saw an opportunity to enhance the separation of compute and storage. And why we did that is to improve multi-tenancy support and optimize the query performance in cloud native environments. So this inspired us to embark on the journey by creating ByConity. Now, let me talk about the separation of compute and storage. That is actually a cornerstone of design, which distinguished it from ClickHouse. It enables read and write separation, elastic scalability, and efficient resource utilization. So, by adopting this architecture, we dynamically were able to expand and contract computing resources based on demand, ensuring optimal utilization and performance. And the benefit of this architecture is actually it promotes multi-tenant isolation. And earlier, I did mention that we had a problem in data lakes, right? When there is a corruption in the entire pipeline. So, having this multi-tenant isolation and eliminating the interference between read and write operation is very critical in those applications. So that's what ByConity adopted in its architecture, which allows our applications to be enhanced in terms of data integrity and efficiency. I think you also mentioned that you want to learn about history a little bit, so I can delve deeper into that too.
Yeah, I'm just curious about the roots of the project and and where it emerged from.
Yeah. So, as any organization which is data driven, you always need a solution for data warehousing. So, ClickHouse was a project back then. The origins of ByConity actually can trace back to 2018 when we initially implemented ClickHouse, which was open source. It was available on GitHub, and we started using it for our internal use. So, as our user base grew, we encountered challenges with ClickHouse's architecture. For example, since it didn't have compute storage separation, we ran into some scaling difficulties and performance limitations because our query became more complex. We had many tables that we had to work on. So the challenges of scalability and complexity was some of the things we had to address. So to overcome these challenges, we initiated ByConity project, which was like, which outgrew in terms of like how much code we put on top of ClickHouse already. So, um, this was the project we embarked on in 2020, and we focused on addressing the challenges I talked about. And with that, we were able to optimize some of our own architecture. So after you know much more development and testing, we released the beta version in January 2023, which is earlier this year. And after doing more of like um, more adoption, we officially went to public release in May 2023. And we made it open source back in the community as well. So now the open source community can actually find it on GitHub called ByConity, and they can start using it. Um,
So, okay,
mhm.
go ahead.
Yeah, that was it, Alex.
Okay. So you talk about optimizing query performance and how that really is a big part of it. How did you find that becoming an issue? Like, how did that become a use case to try to solve?
Yeah, definitely. We so. I think we encountered the problems of with data challenges, right? As I mentioned, that we had some data challenges and we wanted some strong multi-tenancy support and data consistencies. So those are some of the things we
Sure.
encountered. So what we did is we leveraged some optimization techniques like column storage, vectorized execution, MPP execution, and query optimization, which allowed us to enhance the performance. For instance, vectorizes execution processes data in batches, which significantly improves the performance efficiency. I talked about MPP. So MPP execution enables parallel processing, which enhances query execution times, and this optimizations, when you put them collectively together, they result in faster processing and analysis. I think another pain point we observed is we had to make this data, and we had to process this data much more faster. Imagine by dance, right? It offers so many products, and we and its user base is all on it has a growing user base. So we had to make sure that whenever you are querying something, it had to be much more faster. So latency was a thing that we had to solve, right? So we had to work on all of those pain points to address.
And when you're talking about the type of database development that you're doing,
Mhm.
I'm curious about what are the different aspects of databases. What the database world is changing
Mhm.
pretty pretty fast.
Yeah.
I interviewed Adrian Cockcroft last uh, 2 weeks ago, and he talked about kind of like how vector databases he thinks will just become part of all databases, right?
Mhm.
Or vectors will become all part of all databases. Um, I'm curious how you're thinking about columnar focused databases, which ClickHouse is based upon, and how that makes a difference for you when at ByteDance.
Yeah. So for any AI application, I think you said it right? We have a growing trend of vector databases, and there are some projects which are evolving to solve that pain point. So definitely there is an emerging need. So as I said, ByConity was released just in May, just a few months ago. We do have like a solid roadmap, and we still have to catch up on some of the lakehouse aspect, and query cache, and we want to support more key value pairs. Right now, the key value tool we are using is Foundation DB. So we are actively working on addressing those pain points, because currently when you install some of the ByConity binaries, there are some challenges that we observe. So our users gave feedback, community gave us feedback on some of the limitations as well. So we are constantly working on that. And to your point on vectorization, that is also going to be incorporated in our roadmap. Yeah, so it will surely be there.
So yeah, so we've talked about the querying capability. You can query a lot of large scale data with a lot of speed and precision. You can break down data silos, as I see kind of on the GitHub page. Uh, for with different systems and process it reads, often resulting in isolated islands of data, which we often see, which hampers data analysis and insights.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that slows things down too, and you can't have that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, to address the data silo issues, Alex, one of the things that companies or softwares often try to introduce is batch processing and batch and stream processing
Right.
unification. So that's how we address that problem of data silos, because it allows you to break down those barriers between those two processing. Yeah.
I see it's cloud native, and so
Mhm.
you're really taking that approach that take full advantage of scalability and resilience and
Mhm.
ease of development, which can allow you to work well in a Kubernetes environment.
Mhm.
Um, there's a lot of benefits here. Are there any in particular outside of what we've discussed that you'd cite? Would it be cloud native design? What would be another benefit that you would say to the ByConity project?
Yeah, I think you did mention about the cloud native design. I think a lot of technologies nowadays, we are talking about multi-cloud, right? So we can't get away with the fact that we have to make technologies cloud native as
Right.
well. In fact, even at ByteDance, we have other open source projects which are cloud native. For example, CloudWigo is one of the other projects. It offers middleware services and RPC framework to enable more streamlined communication when you're connecting, streaming services in the cloud. So anyway, that is one such technology. But I think high performance data querying is one of the benefits. Other benefits are like real time streaming, unification. We already discussed, when we discuss silos, and it is open source. I think that is the main advantage of open source open sourcing this technology, because there are not many tools available right now in the open source for data warehousing.
Oh, they're not.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
a lot of technologies is like proprietary, right? So
Yeah, and that
this,
causes that makes it more difficult, and it's based on. I mean, I know there's a Foundation DB angle here, and it says you can download the client package from Foundation DB GitHub release pages, which I guess is part of how to work with ByConity.
yeah, it is one of the components of ByConity. So what and I won't say like ByConity is the only open source solution. There are other solutions like, ClickHouse is already there.
Right.
There is Apache Pino and other projects. But I think we have seen this technology works at scale in ByteDance itself. So there are definitely some advantages on performance is what we have seen. So more performant because of its scalable compute and storage
So
separation.
yeah, so ByConity is pretty young. What are some of your goals for the project?
Yeah, some of the goals, as I discussed, is to enable new systems, because when I talk to developers, they always talk about this language, new systems meaning it has to be like a lake house. It has to it has to support latest advancements, which is LLMs, right? So LLMs is something which is in our roadmap, because a lot of people want to use this data warehousing solution to bridge that gap between the AI technologies, and they want to make use of it. So lake houses, yeah, those are some of the main things we are working on.
Yeah, everyone wants to try to find new ways to use LLMs
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah. So what's your overall perspective on open source and AI in consideration with the need for better data warehouses for LLMs, for better with data lakes, for LLMs. I mean, when they talk about new systems, I guess that's what they mean. But you know, how is open source going to be intersecting with these? Do you expect to see more projects related to what you're doing? I expect you do.
I do, yes. And you said it right, Alex. A lot of, I think when I mentioned about AI and open source evolution, right? AI is constantly emerging, and I even don't know like what other people are constantly thinking of, right? Because there is
Yeah.
so much you can guess, but there is so much that is already, as we speak, there is already something being worked on. So anyway, the reason I bring that up is because you can make, because open source is something that, anything that you're working on, you can actually put your code out there and have the passionate technologies work on it, because that way you not only get feedback on your software, but you actually can learn about how people are using your technology. That's why I see this like amazing intersection of open source and AI technologies. It is bridging that gap. And with LLMs, I think once you have built a model, you can put it out there. I am pretty sure when you build a model for your own data, it may not be 100% applicable to other system, but you can give the inspiration. Uh, that is a similar mindset which people carry in open source, right? When they are open sourcing technology, they put the code out there. And open source is like amazing way. If you are running into security or vulnerability issues, you just speak out, and open source community comes together, they find the bug, they will come together on resolving it. So that's why when we say like open source is secure, this is how they make it secure. And for LLMs, I think there is constant need and constant new use cases being emerged. For example, everybody wants to use it in not only the companies but also education systems. So there is constant evolution of use cases. I was at a like I participated in various conferences in the past, even like just 2 3 months, and every I actually met a lot of people from different industries. So there is absolute need of LLMs and generative AI in each of the industry sectors. For example, retail wants to use it for recommendation, or even like uh, use AI as a tool so that people can try on their products, even put the chatbots for their service agents and things like that. For education systems, they want to use this to accelerate, education learning systems for their students. So yeah, it's constantly
Interesting.
emerging. Yeah.
Well, Vinny, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk with us. I've really enjoyed our conversation. We look forward to learning more about ByConity and watching ByteDance and its deeper role in open source.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Alex. Yeah, this is definitely an exciting time, and it's constantly evolving. Even at ByteDance, we are working on many other open source technologies. So, if you do want to keep in touch, I can share my LinkedIn link with you. I constantly like update my community over there on what projects we are working on, and even the projects, even the features that we are releasing, I constantly
Great.
bring them up to speed, so I can definitely share that. And I think since we are on this topic, I always see that people are hesitant to contribute or hesitant to try it. So I think I only want to give one message that if for those who are embarking on this journey, I recommend them starting identifying a pain point and just start contributing. No small contribution is bad.
Too
A
small.
small contribution can
Right.
make a very big impact over time. So I highly encourage collaborating, and I also work with different organizations. So if you do want to uh, communicate, collaborate, or even like have any problems, please reach out to me. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Vinny, for your time, and we'll look forward to talking soon.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Alex. Have a great one.
You too. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, you can always subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're on all the major social media platforms. You can always find us at thenewstack.io. We hope to see you soon.